What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Talking with Views, episode 101. And on today's episode of the Wednesday News, we got NFL free agency because that is going wild. We got a new number one in college softball, and college hockey is officially in the playoff mode. But first, let's head to the NHL. NHL trade deadline was last Friday, so we actually got a lot of news to cover, not just trades, but we also got signings, we got some injuries, and some suspensions. So let's get straight into it. We'll start off with all the trades. We got a lot of them. I'll pop up a new graphic right here. We'll start off with the Anthony Mantha trade. Anthony Mantha goes from Washington to Vegas, along with only 50% of his salary. Washington gets a 2024 second-round pick and a 26 fourth-round pick. Honestly, not a bad trade for either side. Washington's not a good team this year, so I think that's pretty good. Just, of course, Vegas gets another star player. Then we head to Florida, where they have acquired Vladimir Tarasenko and only 50% of his contract from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for a 2024 conditional fourth-round pick. That condition becomes a 2026 third if the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. They also got a 25 third-round pick. Pretty solid. I think this is just going to be a rental. I don't see Florida re-signing Vladdy at the end of the season. So I think it's going to be pretty solid. I think that's actually a really good pickup. So good job there by Florida. Then we head to a little cheeky one-for-one. Casey Middlestat goes to Colorado in exchange for Bowen Byron as he goes to Buffalo. I think that's going to be one that leaves both teams satisfied there. Then we head to the next trade. We got Sean Walker going from the Philadelphia Flyers to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for a first-round pick in 2025, which is a top 10 protected, and Ryan Johansson. Colorado also got a 26 fifth-round pick in exchange for this. I think bringing in Walker also helps that trade for Middlestat. I think that boosts up those pick or that position better than Bowen Byram. So honestly, great job by Colorado with those back-to-back trades right there. Now we got a three-team trade. Adam Henrique, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Anaheim Ducks all involved in this one. We'll start off with Edmonton's side. Edmonton, they get Adam Henrique and only 25% of his contract, along with Sam Carrick, which is only 50% of his contract, a 2024 seventh-round pick from Anaheim, and the rights to Ty Taylor of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay in all this, they're actually going to get 25% of Adam Henrique's contract, a conditional 26 fourth-round pick. That will become a 25 if Edmonton does not win the Cup. And then in Anaheim situation, they get a 2024 first-round pick and a conditional 2025 fifth-round pick. This will become a fourth if Edmonton wins the Cup. Very surprised that Edmonton got rid of a first-round pick, but great job by Pat Verbeek and Anaheim to get that first-round draft pick out of Edmonton. Yeah, it's going to be a low one, but for them to lose Henrique and Carrick, it's tough because I think everybody likes both of those guys, kind of a fan favorite, especially in the locker room. Seems like they're very positive guys, but overall, it's very surprising to see a first-round pick come back. So very good job by Edmonton, good job by Edmonton to bring in those guys, but good job by Pat Verbeek and Anaheim to get that back in. Very surprised Tampa Bay was involved in this as well. All right, then we head to New York and Seattle. Seattle trades Alex Wenberg and 50% of his contract to New York in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick and a 25 fourth-round pick. That is actually Dallas's pick. Pretty good depth pick there, I think, for New York. I didn't think Seattle was definitely going to keep him around for very long, so good pick there. Another three-team trade. We had Vegas, Philadelphia, and Calgary involved in this one. Vegas got the Noah Hannafin sweepstakes. Only 25% of his contract is coming along. Also got Mikhail Vorobyev. Probably said that incorrectly, but it's popped up on the board, so you could check it out. Philadelphia in this one, they only get 25% of Hannafin's contract plus a fifth-round pick in 2024 from Vegas. Calgary, though, they get Daniil Miramanov, a 2025 first-round pick with the condition right there, and the 2024 third-round pick condition right there will become a second if Vegas wins a round in the playoffs. That is most likely going to happen, so good job by Calgary. They're going to get a pick, an upgrade on the pick there. We'll be very surprised if Vegas does not win a round in the playoffs. Then we head to Toronto. Joel Edmondson and 50% of his contracts going to Toronto as he was there last season. Signed with Washington in the offseason. Washington in exchange gets a 2024 third-round pick That is actually the Islanders pick, and a 2025 5th-round pick, which is actually Chicago's pick. So good picks there for a rental player in their terms there. Nashville and Chicago made a trade. Anthony Beauvillier is going to Nashville in exchange for a 2024 5th-round pick. Beauvillier was traded earlier this year to Chicago, so a quick flip there for the Hawks. Beauvillier, I think, is actually going to thrive pretty well in Nashville. I think Nashville looks pretty good. They might be on the outside looking in right now, but I think overall it's going to be pretty solid. We got another depth pick here. Arizona and Edmonton. Edmonton gets Troy Stecher and a 2024 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2027 4th-round pick. Not too much to comment on this one. Then we head to Tampa Bay and San Jose. Tampa Bay gets Anthony Duclair and a 2025 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2024 3rd-round pick and Jack Thompson. I think this is going to be pretty solid for Tampa Bay. I don't think they have a lot of contract room left. So for them to get a guy like Anthony Duclair, I think it's going to help them in the long terms. One of the bigger trades this deadline, Jake Gensel was definitely on the trading block for Pittsburgh. He actually is officially going to Carolina. 25% of his contract is coming along with them. And we also got Ty Smith going to Carolina in exchange for Michael Bunting, 3 players, which I will throw up right there. 2024 2nd-round pick from Philadelphia, actually. It will become a 1st-round pick of Carolina's if the Canes make the Cup Finals. And a 2024 5th-round pick, which transfers only if the Canes win the Stanley Cup. So that one's going to be a little harder to get that 5th-round pick in there. But I honestly think Gensel makes this team better. I think Carolina has gotten better just like that. Michael Bunting, it's tough to see him go. I think Carolina liked him a lot. But if that means you're going to get Jake Gensel on this one, I think that's the right thing to do. So good job by Carolina. I don't think this is going to be a very short rental. I think they're going to keep him for the long haul. So good job by the Canes. Canes weren't done there. They also picked up Evgeny Kuznetsov and 50% of his contract from Washington in exchange for a 2025 3rd-round pick. I think it's actually pretty solid. I don't know what's going on with Kuznetsov in Washington, so kind of surprised to see all this stuff going down with him. But for them to get a 3rd-round pick for him, I think that's very positive. Move on from Kuznetsov. Let's see what he does in Carolina now. Buffalo and Florida made a trade. Florida got Kyle Opozo for Kelly Jarlin, 2024 conditional 7th-round pick, which becomes a 5th if the Panthers win the Cup. Kind of surprised to see the captain of the Buffalo Sabres go over to Florida, but I think Florida got better again, adding Opozo. Tyler Toffoli and the New Jersey Devils have parted ways. Toffoli's going to Winnipeg in exchange for a 2025 2nd-round pick and a 2024 3rd-round pick. If you guys have noticed a trend, a lot of picks being traded, not a lot of players getting traded. I think Carolina and the Pittsburgh one was really the only one that we saw 2 teams getting a lot of players in return. Besides that, there's been a lot of draft picks going along for these guys. Very surprised, but I guess we'll see what happens when it comes down to it. New Jersey, they pick up Jake Allen from the Montreal Canadiens and 50% of his contract in exchange for a conditional 2025 3rd-round pick. That will become a 25 2nd-round pick after 40 games played for Allen. I don't know if I could see this happening. I'm actually very confused on what New Jersey is doing. They fired their head coach last week. They traded Toffoli a couple hours before this trade was made official, and now they're getting goaltending, which is something that they needed, but they waited way too long for this. So I don't know what they're doing at this rate. Maybe it's the kind of thing where they're looking ahead for next season, and maybe Jake Allen is the answer for them as maybe a backup role, because I think they're still going to try to go after Jacob Markstrom is what I'm hearing. So Markstrom, newsflash, did not get moved, so that one was incorrect. But I think Jake Allen might be a backup role. I don't really see him as a starter in New Jersey, but I guess they could prove me wrong. Tampa Bay picked up a defenseman from Arizona. They got Matt Dumba and a 2025 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2027 5th-round pick. I was very surprised to see Dumba go to Arizona in the first place. So to see him leave after half a season, not surprised at all. I think Arizona knew what they were doing there, so he's going off to Tampa Bay. Colin Miller goes from the Devils to Winnipeg with Toffoli. Separate trade, though, and 2026 4th-round pick. Just a little quick 1-for-1 there. New Jersey goes after some more goaltending here. They swap goaltenders with San Jose. Vitek Vanacek goes to San Jose in exchange for Capo Kakinen. Very interesting to see that. Again, another goaltender going over there. San Jose also gets, a seventh round pick in 2025. I don't have that on the graphic right there, but that is also included with that pick. Columbus and New York, they made a trade. New York gets Jack Roslovic and 50% of the contract in exchange for a conditional 2024 fourth round pick, which will become a third if the Rangers reach the Stanley Cup Finals. That's not happening, so you're going to get a fourth round pick for Columbus. So that's not terrible there. Vegas made another big trade with San Jose this time. This one came out of the blue. I did not see this one coming at all. We got Tomas Hertl going to Vegas, plus 17% of his contract, which comes out to $1.3 million, and a 2025 third round pick and a 2027 third round pick. So very interesting to see that happen. San Jose in exchange gets a 2025 first round pick and David Enstrom. I don't know where this came from. I did not think Hertl was on the chopping block. I think he probably was the best asset that if San Jose was going to trade somebody, he would be the one to go. But for it to be Hertl, I'm very surprised. Did not see this coming. This came out of left field to me. So we'll see what happens when he is fully healthy and back with the Vegas Golden Knights now. Well, that does it for trade deadline talk. I'm not going to talk too much more about the trades. Besides, I just want to see all these things pan out. Kind of a little overwhelming with the amount of draft picks that were being thrown out there, but I'm very surprised to not see more players leave their team, especially players like Frank Vatrano for Anaheim. Definitely thought he would have been one shipped off, but I guess the asking price was maybe too high for him. So a couple of players that I thought would have gone did not end up leaving. So curious to see what happens in the offseason now when we get free agencies and even more trades near the draft time. So should be interesting to keep an eye out on. Even though we had trade deadline, we had a lot of extensions for a lot of players. So all the current players that I will be mentioning had been offered extensions and did sign up. So Carolina and Brandon Lemieux, 1 year, $775,000. Nashville extends Mark Yankowski, 2 years, $800K AAV, and Dante Fabro for 1 year, $2.5 mil. Seattle and Jordan Eberle agreed to 2 years, $4.75 AAV. St. Louis gets Oscar Lundqvist for 2 more years, $1.5 million AAV. Florida extends Gustav Forsling for 8 years, $5.75 AAV. I think that's going to pan out to be a great contract right there, especially with the salary cap going up after pretty much it seems like every single season. So that's going to be a great contract for the future. And we got Calgary extending Daniil Miromanov, 2 years, $1.25 AAV after just being acquired from Vegas. And lastly, Philadelphia extends Nick Seeler, 4 years, $2.7 million AAV. So a lot of extensions going out there. We had one waiver claim this week. Nashville claims Jarrett Anderson-Dolan from the Los Angeles Kings. We got a couple injury news here. Carolina officially activated Frederick Anderson off of the injury reserve. He's been missed pretty much the whole season with blood clotting issues, I believe it was. And this is definitely the time that Carolina could use him. So he's already been back, played a couple games, been pretty solid in net. So excited to see what Anderson's able to do the rest of the year for the Canes. Then we got Ottawa announcing that Josh Norris will officially be done for the rest of the year. Last week we mentioned that he will most likely be out. They have officially announced this week that he is out for the rest of the year. Underwent shoulder surgery, so hopefully he gets back for the next season. Florida has announced Aaron Ekblad will be out 2 more weeks with a lower body injury. That's tough news for Florida, but I think they'll be okay. They're going to be able to keep their position in the standings. And lastly, San Jose, Logan Couture, the captain, is done for the season. Only played 6 games, has been battling injuries since pretty much the preseason. Just has not been able to come back. Honestly, I'm fine with them packing it up because San Jose is not going to go anywhere. Might as well tank for the rest of the year. It's just tough that it's the captain of the team. So I know Couture is probably very angry about it, but hopefully he gets back healthy, gets back into a full season next year with the Sharks. Now we get into a couple suspensions here. We'll start off with the head coach of the Flyers, John Tortorella. He was suspended 2 games and fined $500,000 for the actions in the game versus Tampa Bay. We got Calgary's Martin Pospisil. He was suspended 3 games for boarding Seattle Kraken's Vince Dunn from behind. New York Rangers' Matt Rempe, big man that we talked about last week, was suspended 4 games for an elbow to the head of New Jersey Devils' Jonas Siegenthaler. Not surprised at all. Very bad hit as well. So 4 games, I think is appropriate for that. Now we get into Jersey talk. Toronto has released a new St. Pat's uniform for this season. We got a picture right here. We'll react to it all together. So we actually got 4 pictures here in a little collage that they posted. We got the front, the back, and the side view. So for your audio listeners, I'll try to explain the best I can here. We got a white base uniform with a thick green stripe down the middle that goes onto the arms. It kind of gives me that Florida vibes with that stripe in the back, or even Minnesota, but I feel like that stripe is thicker on the Florida one. Could just be off of memory and just kind of thinking of it incorrectly. Anyways, that stripe is green. We got green numbers, green nameplate, and green captain and assistant captain patches. Front of the uniform, we get a very different crest. We've never seen this crest before. Brand new. It's a clover shape. Kind of gives me the vibes of the Toronto Maple Leafs normal logo that we have now. And on the front, it says St. Pat's and a font that kind of like curls around the clover. Overall, I don't think it's terrible, but I think it's a little bit of a downgrade in certain spots. I will say, I think the numbers, they're more modernized, which I'm okay with, but I also really like the numbers from last year where we had that old style stitching on. It's really hard to explain. Look up a picture. But I like the modernization here. I just think I like those other numbers a little bit better because these uniforms did first come out in 1917, 1927 era. So to have that back, the flash of the back, the pass kind of thing, I think that's very solid. But overall, I think this modernization looks very good. I really like the green accessories. The helmet's green, the gloves are green, the pants are green. So I really like adding all of that, especially with the whole new thing with the league saying that as long as the opposite team does not have the same color helmet, you could wear dark helmets. So I like that they're going with the green helmets here. So I think it all color balances very well. Overall, I give it a 7.1 out of 10. I think it's good. Modernization's there. I really like that. Just missing a little bit of the old style, but I think if we're going to see this uniform moving forward, I'm going to get used to it. I'm going to be looking forward to it around St. Patrick's Day with these uniforms. So great job by Toronto. I gave you guys a thumbs up. We'll move on to the NFL now. So the NFL free agency signings are going crazy. We got a lot to cover. I will go through all the signings right now. Well, actually, we'll go through the releases because that will influence some of the signings. So we'll head into the releases right now. Here they are. We will start off in Buffalo. Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White were released. We also got Philadelphia's Avonte Maddox, Denver's Justin Simmons, Pittsburgh's Patrick Peterson, Las Vegas released Brian Hoyer, Green Bay released David Bakhtiari and Aaron Jones, and Cincinnati released Joe Mixon. This will now get into the signings, which I am not going to name off all of them. I will put up something that you guys will see. You guys could pause the video and look at all the names of the teams that they're going to, the terms, and the years if I have that information. I will just go over some of the bigger names that I care about, and I think you guys would too as well. So let's get into most of the signings here. Mitchell Trubisky goes from Pittsburgh to Buffalo for 2 years. Jalen Johnson goes to Chicago, 4 years, $60 million, $54 guaranteed. Chris Jones goes back to Kansas City, 5 years, $95 million guaranteed. Baker Mayfield re-signed to Tampa Bay, 3 years, $100 million. Kendrick Bourne stays in New England, 3 years, $33 million. Russell Wilson goes from Denver to Pittsburgh, 1 year, $1.2 million. Landon Dickerson re-signs with Philadelphia, 4 years, $85 million, $50 million guaranteed. DeAndre Swift goes from Philadelphia to Chicago, 3 years, $24.5 million, $15.3 million is guaranteed. Deion Dawkins goes to Buffalo, $3 million, $60.5 million, making him the 4th highest paid tackle in the NFL. Christian Walker, he goes from Miami to Las Vegas, 4 years, $110 million, $84.75 million guaranteed. Kirk Cousins goes from Minnesota to Atlanta, 4 years, $180 million, $100 million is guaranteed. Saquon Barkley goes from New York Giants to the Philadelphia Eagles, 3 years, $37.75 million, $26 guaranteed. Josh Jacobs goes from Vegas to Green Bay. Robert Hunt goes from Carolina to Miami. 5 years, $100 million, $63 million of that is guaranteed. Gus Edwards goes to Baltimore to LA Chargers for 2 years. Austin Eckler goes from the Chargers to the Commanders for 2 years. Jacoby Brissett goes from Washington to New England, 1 year, $8 million. Zach Moss goes to Indianapolis, or goes from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, 2 years, $8 million. Aaron Jones goes from Green Bay to Minnesota for 1 year, $7 million. Marcus Mariota goes from the Eagles to the Commanders for 1 year. Mike Gesicki goes from New England to Cincinnati, 1 year. Naheem Hines goes from Buffalo to Cleveland, 1 year. Shaq Barrett goes from Tampa Bay to Miami, 1 year. Darnell Mooney goes from Chicago to Atlanta, 3 years, $39 million. Derrick Henry goes from Tennessee to Baltimore, 2 years, $16 million. 9 of that is guaranteed. Patrick Queen goes from Baltimore to Pittsburgh, 3 years, $41 million. Jameis Winston goes from New Orleans to Cleveland, and Sam Darnold goes from San Francisco to Minnesota, 1 year, $10 million. Wow, a lot of that was a lot of numbers. Yeah, sorry if they were not able to follow that. I will, of course, still have something up right now where you guys can look at it. I'm not sure how it's formatted. I'm, of course, recording this before I actually have any of the graphics out there. So hopefully it was easy enough to follow, at least graphically. Sorry, audio listeners, if you're not good with numbers and a lot of information coming past, just zoom past it. Don't worry too much about it. Check out Adam Schefter or the NFL's post. You'll see all the main ones out there. That's where I get most of my news on this year's signings. So you can find all of that on his social medias. We got a lot of trades. Not going to talk too much about it. Just who's going from where to where. We got Denver and Cleveland. Cleveland gets Jerry Jeudy for a 5th and a 6th round pick. Jacksonville picked up Mac Jones from New England for a 6th round pick. Carlton Davis goes from Tampa Bay to Detroit. Brian Burns goes from Carolina to the Giants. And just as I was about to record this, Carolina picked up Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. 2 other things before we get out of it. Philadelphia's defensive lineman Fletcher Cox announced his retirement from the league, and Cincinnati's T. Higgins has requested a trade out of Cincinnati. All right, let's head to motorsports. We'll start off with NASCAR. NASCAR was at Phoenix this week, and I was happened to be at the race. It's my first Sunday race. I've usually always gone to the Saturday races with my dad or my dad and my mom. So I was very lucky to get the invite from a friend. Shout out the Fox residents. I appreciate you guys inviting me to the race. It was an awesome race. I thought it was, or I'll take that back. I thought it was an awesome experience. I thought the race was a little bit boring. A lot of green laps, not a lot of cautions in this one. Only one really big caution that really got a lot of cars into it, but not even that one had a lot of cars into it. So the top 10 finishes this week, though. Christopher Bell picked up the first spot. His I believe 2nd win at Phoenix. Number 2 is Chris Buescher. 3, Ty Gibbs. 4, Brad Keselowski. 5, Ryan Blaney. That was actually my racer that I was rooting for this week. I'm not a huge Ryan Blaney fan, but I'm not a huge one driver fan anyways, but I thought Ryan Blaney would have had a great day. He actually really did. I was really impressed. Honestly, just ran out of time. He had a very good car, had a bad restart on that last caution before the end of the race. And just had a tough time trying to get his way back. But he was faster than Keselowski and Gibbs. He was going to get there, just ran out of time. 6 was Ross Chastain. 7 was Martin Truex Jr. I thought he had a very fast car. They gambled, kept him out there after one of the cautions. Ended up not getting that caution near the end to help him stay out there. So he ended up costing him the win in this one. He dropped to 7. 8, Michael McDowell. 9, Chase Briscoe. And 10, Tyler Reddick. But yeah, overall, I thought the race was a little boring, but I thought it was a lot of fun. First time in years that I've gone. Last time I went, they called the series underneath the big series the Busch races. So it put in perspective how long it's been since I've been in a NASCAR race. So it was a lot of fun, a long day, very tired after that one, but I really enjoyed my time. So very awesome experience. Well, let's head to Formula One now, where they were at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And before the race, Ferrari was forced to go with Oliver Bearman since Carlos Sainz was diagnosed with an appendicitis and needed surgery. So that was tough for Sainz. He had a come out of that car. But Bearman did well. He finished 7th in this one in his debut. He's actually the youngest person to ever drive a Ferrari car. So great job by Oliver. The top 10, though, of course, Max Verstappen won this one again. His 100th career podium finish. So good job by Verstappen. Congrats there. 2, we had Sergio Perez. 3, Charles Leclerc. 4, Oscar Piastri. 5, Fernando Alonso. 6, George Russell. 7, Oliver Bearman. 8, Lando Norris. 9, Lewis Hamilton. And 10, Nico Hülkenberg. Good job by Haas to get some points there. It's tough for Haas to get a lot of points. All right, let's head to college hockey. A lot to talk about like last week. We got the rankings, the tournament, and Arizona State recaps. Let's start off with the rankings. But first, new graphic. Heard it was a little difficult to follow when it came to teams moving up and down. So hopefully this is easier to follow. You get the graphic of the team logo, the up and down arrows, the green arrow, of course, meaning they moved up, red arrow, of course, meaning they moved down, and the placement inside the box. So hopefully this is easier to follow. It was actually very easy to make, and I will be doing this for the future. Audio listeners, it will be the same for you guys. But if you guys want to check it out, of course, check out the YouTube channel. But let's get into the rankings for this week for college hockey. Boston College stays put at 1. BU stays put at 2. Denver gets a +1 to 3. Michigan State gets a +2 to 4. North Dakota drops 2 to 5. Minnesota gets a +2 to 6. Quinnipiac stays put at 7. Maine gets a +1 to 8. Wisconsin drops 4 to 9. Colorado College gets a +1 to 10. Michigan gets a +3 to 11. Omaha gets a +4 to 12. Providence gets a +2 to 13. Western Michigan gets a +1 to 14. Cornell drops 2 to 15. UMass drops 4 to 16. New Hampshire gets a +1 to 17. St. Cloud State drops 1 to 18. RIT stays put at 19. And we had 2 teams ranked at 20. ASU stays put at 20, but Bemidji State goes from unranked tied to 20. So good job by them. Other receiving votes that had double digits. We had Northeastern at 35, Holy Cross at 17, Colgate at 12, and Michigan Tech at 10. All right, now let's head into the tournaments. Not all the teams or not all the conferences have started a tournament play, but all the seedings are out there. But I will tell you that we have got into some of the semifinals for some of the conferences. So we'll start off with the Atlantic Hockey Conference. RIT beat Robert Morris 5-1. American International beat Air Force in overtime 3-2. Niagara beat Sacred Heart 5-1. And Holy Cross beat Canisius in double overtime 2-1. This sets up a semifinal of RIT versus Niagara and Holy Cross versus American International. The Big Ten tournament, we had Michigan beating Notre Dame 4-3, Minnesota beating Penn State 3-2, Ohio State beating Wisconsin 3-1. This sets up a semifinal of Michigan State versus Ohio State and Michigan versus Minnesota. That second matchup, Michigan versus Minnesota, going to be a great matchup. If you're going to watch one, that's going to be a good one to watch. We'll head to the CCHA. Bemidji State beats Ferris State 4-0. Minnesota State beats Northern Michigan 6-1. Michigan Tech beats Bowling Green 6-5. And Lake Superior upsets St. Thomas 2-1. Semifinal matchups, Bemidji State versus Lake Superior and Minnesota State versus Michigan Tech. Then we head to the ECAC. We'll start off with Harvard beating Princeton 1-0. Rensselaer beating Clarkson 3-2. Union beating Brown 6-0. And St. Lawrence, beating Yale 4-2. The quarterfinals now are Quinnipiac versus Rensselaer, Union versus Dartmouth, St. Lawrence versus Colgate, and Harvard versus Cornell. We head to the Hockey East. We actually didn't have any matchups. This is actually the tournament for them right now. UConn will face Vermont. We have New Hampshire versus UMass Lowell, and Northeastern versus Merrimack. Now we head lastly to the NCHC. Their tournament has not started either, but this is the matchups. North Dakota versus Miami, which we knew from last week. Colorado College versus Omaha. St. Cloud State versus Western Michigan. And Minnesota Duluth versus Denver. Your Arizona State upset or update of the weekend. They did get upset. They split the weekend with Alaska Anchorage, ending the season on a positive note. Overall, I think this is probably one of the best seasons they've ever had in the program. I mean, you get the most wins in program history. You get guys like Ethan Schmacky reaching 100 NCAA games played, and a lot of other records as well, like Lucas Sillinger as well. He recorded a season best for the program in points with 43. So overall, I think this is one of the best seasons I think we've seen in this young program career. They were ranked in the top 20, 22 out of 23 weeks. Very first week of the year, they were not ranked after upsetting Merrimack. They did get jumped into that top 20. So Arizona State has looked very solid all season long. Very proud to see these guys continue to work. A couple of hiccups in the middle of the season, which really kind of hurt them for this tournament run. I don't think they're going to make the tournament, unfortunately. So I think Alaska Anchorage was their last game of the season. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully maybe a couple of other upsets happen in the tournament, which get them back in there. But I don't think it's going to happen. So Arizona State, very proud of them this season. But I think they're hungry for a tournament next year. So I definitely expect them to do very good next year. So hopefully it goes well. Let's head to college softball and let's head into the rankings. Boom, new graphic right there. We got a new number one. Oklahoma's back in the top spot. They jump up 1-1. LSU also jumps up 1-2. Texas dropped 2-3. Duke stays put at 4. Georgia gets a +1 to 5. Stanford gets a +2 to 6. Oklahoma State stays put at 7. Washington drops 3 to 8. Tennessee stays put at 9. Florida gets a +3 to 10. Missouri gets a +1 to 11. Virginia Tech gets a +3 to 12. Baylor gets a +1 to 13. Clemson drops 3 to 14. Alabama drops 5 to 15. UCLA gets a +2 along with A&M to 16 and 17. Florida State drops 2 to 18. Cal drops 2 to 19. Arkansas stays put at 20. Mississippi State gets a +2 to 21. South Carolina stays put at 22. Kentucky drops 2 to 23. Oregon goes from unranked to 24, and Arizona drops 1 to 25. Only one team dropped out this week. That was Auburn. And other receiving votes this week that were double digits. BU gets a 49 votes. Auburn 45. Indiana gets 16. And Texas Tech gets 16. Upsets of the week. We had two midweek upsets. Louisville beating 24 ranked Arizona 5-3. And Minnesota beating 11 ranked Clemson in 9 innings 5-3 as well. We had two Friday. Oregon State beat number 24 ranked Arizona in 8 innings, 3-2. Florida Gulf Coast beating number 16 Florida State 3-1. South Alabama beating number 20 Arkansas 2-1. Houston beating number 1 Texas 12-10. And Oregon upsetting number 17 Cal 4-3. We had a Saturday now. Baylor ranked 14th, upsetting number 7 Oklahoma State 2-0. Number 13 Florida beating number 10 Alabama 2-0. And Oregon beating number 17 Cal 5-2. Then we head to Sunday. Number 25 Auburn beating number 12 Missouri 4-0. Ole Miss beating number 23 Mississippi State 10-9. Number 13 Florida beating number 10 Alabama in 5 innings 11-2. So pretty solid upsets this week. Nothing too crazy. I thought the biggest one definitely was that Texas one, them dropping that big game to Houston, and then Florida winning in 5 against Alabama. Those are probably my biggest 2 upsets that I would circle this week. But let's head into the Arizona State update. They faced number 5 Washington on the road, losing Friday 5-2 and Saturday 4-0, but ended up avoiding the sweep, winning 9-3 on Sunday. Overall, it's tough. I saw the weather was absolutely terrible in Washington. I even had games postponed because of the weather. So it's tough going from what it's like out here where it's 75, 80 when it's in your highs and stuff like that. And you go into a place where it is in the 30s and 40s and it's raining and that's cold. So I think ASU did okay. Kind of excited to see what they're going to do this week. This week they play against GCU on Tuesday, and the weekend set is against Oregon State. So very curious to see how they're going to do. I think they're going to be fine. They should go at least 3-1 on the weekend. That's my prediction. So hopefully that comes true. If not better, hopefully maybe it goes 4-0. All right, let's head to college baseball. Let's get into the rankings. Arkansas is your new number 1 there. They jumped up 1 spot. LSU jumps up 1 spot to 2. Oregon State jumps up 3-3. A&M jumps up 3-4. Tennessee jumps up 3-5. Duke gets a +6 to 6. Wake Forest dropped the most though, dropped 6 to 7. Florida drops 4 to 8. Vanderbilt, Clemson, and East Carolina all stay put at 9, 10, 11. TCU drops 7 to 12. NC State jumps up 1 to 13. Alabama gets a +1 to 14. North Carolina gets a +1 to 15. Coastal Carolina gets a +2 to 16. Virginia had a tough week, drops 4 to 17. Auburn gets a +1 to 18. Dallas Baptist jumps up 1 to 19. South Carolina jumps up 1 to 20, along with Campbell to 21. UCI jumps up 1 to 22. Texas jumps up 1 to 23. Texas Tech dropped 7 to 24, and UC Santa Barbara stays put at 25. There were no dropouts this week, but let's get into the upsets. There were actually no upsets for the midweek, so we head to Friday. Number 12, Duke beating Wake Forest. Number 1, 8 to 5. Kansas beating number 5, TCU 3 to 1. Miami beating number 13, Virginia 6 to 5. Number 24, Texas beating number 17, Texas Tech 22 to 8. Holy crap. Fresno State beating number 23, UC Irvine 13 to 1. Back-to-back crazy scores there. Now let's head to Saturday. St. Mary's beating number 4, Florida 9 to 7. Austin Peay beating number 19, Auburn 15 to 6. Kansas beating number 5, TCU 8 to 4. San Diego beating number 20, DBU 8 to 4. Miami beating number 13, Virginia 16 to 12. We head to Sunday. Xavier beating number 3, LSU 2 to 1. Number 24, Texas beating number 17, Texas Tech 9 to 7. Number 12, Duke beating number 1, Wake Forest 10 to 8 to win that series and really honestly force Wake Forest to drop to 7. Great job by Duke this weekend. Arizona State update of the weekend. They're officially 7 and 8 now. They won their game on Friday against Oregon, but lost the last two, 4 to 6 and 5 to 8 on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what's going on with the team. I would say it's probably got to be pitching. When I watched their games, I thought pitching was definitely going to be the weak point of this team. I thought offense was going to look good. Did not go to those games, though, this weekend. Obvious reasons. I was traveling back, and then Sunday I was busy. So not too sure exactly what happened, but curious to see what they do this weekend because they got Arizona on the road for the weekend set, and they play New Mexico on Tuesday. So I think they should be okay against New Mexico. Arizona's also 7 and 8, so I think that could be either game series. It might come down to the rubber game on Sunday. So hopefully ASU gets the better half of that game. But I'm going to say realistically, ASU might go 2-2 on the weekend. So hopefully they prove me wrong, but I'm going to say 2-2 for Arizona State. All right, let's head into the games of the weekend. Since the time change for everybody but Arizona, I am back on the Pacific Standard Time. So all these times from now till the next time change will be Pacific Standard Time. So we'll head to the NHL, Colorado versus Edmonton, Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. NASCAR, you got it at Bristol Motor Speedway at Bristol, Tennessee, Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Basketball selection Sunday for March Madness is at 3 p.m. I know we don't talk a lot about basketball, but when March Madness comes around, I will definitely be talking more about it. So get used to it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but college basketball in March is my thing. So get ready for it. If you guys like watching that, selection Sunday, 3 p.m. Hockey, I'm going to send you to Omaha versus Colorado College. It's a best of 3 in the NCHC quarterfinals. So very interesting matchup. I think Omaha has more to prove in this one than Colorado College, but I think Colorado College is actually maybe a sleeper team if they get into the tournament. So watch out for them. Softball, number 6, Stanford versus number 19, Cal. I'm hoping Cal bounces back in this one, but I think Stanford needs this win more than Cal. So we'll see what happens with that. And lastly, baseball, number 10, Clemson versus number 6, Duke. I picked this one mainly because not only it's a top 10 matchup, but Duke coming off those big wins, I want to see if they're able to kind of keep it going, maybe squeak into the top 5 next week. So very curious to see if that's going to happen. All right, guys, well, that would do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening to episode 100 in the books. This is coming out on March 13th, and of course, recording this on Tuesday. So saying to the future, mom, dad, podcast dad, Mama G, happy anniversary, 25 years. Congrats to that. Hopefully you guys enjoy your anniversary. You do something nice with each other. If this is your first time joining us, I appreciate you guys listening or watching. Make sure you guys, if you guys are watching, like, subscribe, and leave that little bell icon on so you guys are notified when the new episodes drop. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave that 5-star rating. It really does help the podcast grow, get some more people that aren't even searching us up, so that helps us out as well. Check out the links down below for Instagram, Twitter, and I'm gonna start leaving the TikTok down. I'm trying my best to do TikTok. Usually the reels are the TikToks, but I can only put on the reels for so long. I think it's only 60-second max, where TikToks I could do a little bit longer ones. So this last week I did do a little bit of the trade deadline talk, so you guys might want to go check that out. I will try to post more and more on there. It's just hard for me because I'm not one of those kind of people to do the social media thing. So I will try my best, make it interesting, and maybe at least give a follow and see what happens. So appreciate you guys checking that out as well. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.